Well, hello, folks. It's Mike here. I just want to welcome you back to Mr. Cast Iron. And today I want to share with you a podcast that I was interviewed by one of my good friends, Mr. Tom Garvey, known as the Keto Cook. And we're going to get in discussion here talking about keto style diets and also the carnivore type diet, how we met, and maybe some cast iron and different things too that we may dive off into. Who knows what all we're going to get into, but I think you're going to appreciate this, and I hope you'll watch this all the way to the end and leave us some comments and questions that you may have. And I'm going to leave Tom's channel in the description and the pinned comment here, so be sure and go check Tom's channel out as soon as you can and give him some love and support. So here we go.
Sit back and have a glass. Time for Tom's Real Food Podcast.
Today's sponsors for the podcast is Keto Clean Eating, Tommy Spice, Tom Garvey the Keto Cook, the Sunday Dinner Chef, Meg's Mysteries every Saturday, and today's special guest, Mr. Cast Iron. Let's go to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Tom Garvey the Keto Cook. Today on Tom's Real Food Podcast, I'm pretty excited about this because I have my first guest to come up here on this the Real Food Podcast and chat about keto, carnivore, and how we met many, many moons ago. I'm going to bring him up right now. Mr. Cast Iron, Mike, how are you?
Hey, Tom, how's it going, man? I'm doing pretty good, I suppose, for an old fat man.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what keeps us going. That kind of
That's
stuff.
right.
How has things been going on?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than it was. I was having quite a few problems there for a while, but I'm doing a lot better.
Mm-hmm. You know, the thing of it is we know each other for a couple of years now, probably at least 4 years.
Or longer.
From on there. And Mike has a great channel. I'm going to leave a description down in the box down here, in the description box. And it's Mr. Cast Iron. If you want to know anything about cast iron, that is the guy to watch. Okay, great channel. I love the way his approach to things, and just a downright nice guy, in my eyes, anyway.
I appreciate that. I'll pay you off after a while. How about that? Huh?
Sounds good. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat about how Mike started his channel, but a unique way of how he started his channel. So, Mike, I'm going to give you the reins here, and I got some questions for you.
Okay.
And when we get down to a little later on. So if you would like to explain to everybody, what's going on.
Okay. Well, first of all, like you said, my name is Mike. I go by Mr. Cast Iron on YouTube, and you can pretty much find me anywhere. I've got a website that's mrcastiron.com, and we're not as active on the website as we are YouTube. And the past few months, we hadn't really been super active on YouTube for various reasons. And, it's good timing that you reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in doing this. And the reason why I hadn't been all that active is because I had some health issues. And I went in, I guess it was, I think it was July of this year, and had a wellness exam done, and come to find out, they said that my A1C was like 7.5. So they give me a call and said, hey, we'd like for you to come in and talk to us about some options and what kind of medication. Well, they didn't come out and say anything about nutrition or anything. They just come out and said, hey, we'd like to schedule you to come in and let's talk about, our options for medication. So, that's the healthcare system of these days. Nutrition is not something that they speak much about. I mean, it's just, it's not like they're healers. It's like they're drug dealers. I hope I can say that, but
Yeah,
it's kind of that way. We're just going to give you a pill for this, and then if that don't work and you have side effects, we'll give you 3 more pills. So I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said an A1C. I said, so generally that's a 90-day thing. So I have 90 days before I come back in for my next A1C. Is that correct? And the nurse was the one who called me, and she said, yes, sir, that's right. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's go this route. Let me see if I can take 90 days and change my outlook or outcome by diet and exercise. And she said, well, okay, well, good luck. I said, well, all right, I'll see you in 90 days. And a matter of fact, today, I actually went in for my 90-day A1C. I don't have the results back yet, but I'm pretty excited about it. And actually, the doctor was pretty excited when we saw each other this time. He said, wow. He said, man, he said, you've impressed me. He said, I can't believe it. And he said, how much have you lost? And I said, well, according to your scale, it shows 46 pounds. I said, according to mine this morning was 50 pounds I've lost in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel so much better. And all I did basically was change my diet. I got rid of eating a lot of the old sugary foods. You know, sugar is almost in everything anymore,
Yep.
whether it's raw sugar, cane sugar, or if it's high fructose corn syrup or maltodextrin or whatever. I mean, they just load food up, and any kind of packaged food, any kind of boxed food, anything like that, most generally has some form of sugar in it. And all that sugar does, it just activates the glucose, makes our insulin go high. And so we have a high glucose, you know, in our body. And our body, our liver and everything has to burn that off. Well, when you get too high, you know, I don't know all the, the medical terms for everything, but when you get too much sugar, I mean, your insulin's overloaded or your liver's overloaded and you get a
Yep.
fatty liver, in which they've told me that I had at one point. And so your body's having trouble burning off all the sugar.
Yep.
And so once I decided to change my diet, I told him, and I had this, my nephew, we worked together, and I said something about it when this first come about. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, you know, the way I look at it is pretty simple. I ate my way into this condition and I'm going to eat my way out of it. And
That's the truth.
you know, people don't realize, you know, most of our health problems is related to diet.
Yep.
And my choices for diet, being a cast iron cook, I mean, I was cooking everything. I mean, you name it. And, you know, barbecue or all the barbecue channels that we follow and everything, you get all these recipes and you try this. Well, you know, barbecue sauce and everything just loaded with sugar. And most everything is. So I told him, I said, well, I ate my way into it. I'm going to eat my way out. So they all kind of had a smirky grin, you know, and they would watch me, you know, how I'd eat, and they'd watch me walk. And the only exercise I did, Tom, is for the first 3 weeks, I didn't do anything. I just changed the way I was eating. I started eliminating. I guess you could say I was pretty much on an elimination diet. It's what I call it.
Yep.
Really, it's a extended form of keto. I know you're a keto uh, uh, follower or Keto Cook, as your channel is, but you know, keto is really not a diet. Keto is just a short form for the word of ketosis, which puts our body into ketosis, which actually burns the sugar. It's burning sugar out of our body instead of burning glucose. And
Yep.
so when we're in ketosis, we're burning all that excess fat up and everything, getting it out of our body.
Mm-hmm.
And so they watched me, you know, for the first few weeks, didn't see much of any change other than me changing my diet. And it was pretty drastic. I mean, I went not just keto, but I went a step further, which is an extended version of keto, which is called carnivore, as I'm sure most of your audience is probably aware of that. And if not, basically, carnivore is just primarily a meat only type diet where you eliminate all carbs, you eliminate all grains, all bad seed oils. And, you know, the seed oils was a big thing that really got this kind of kicked off for me because as a cast iron channel, you know, we're always seasoning cast iron. And one thing that really spurred my community was I had done a skillet in Crisco and seasoned it. And for years, I mean, I've seasoned cast iron in Crisco, and it's one of the best things to season cast iron. It
Yeah.
puts a pretty finish on it. But as far as the oil is concerned, for our bodies, it's not good. It's made from soybean oil. It's one of the worst oils that you could possibly
It's
uh,
junk.
consume. That's right. It's a manufactured oil, seed oil. It's crushed from soybeans and cottonseed, and it's just terrible. Well, long story short, I got so much flack from the community, you know, over that particular video, it really upset me a little bit, and it put me in a pause for a little while, and I didn't make a video for a little while. I thought, man, my sole purpose really is to help my community. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. And I just wanted to serve the best I could. And I thought I was doing good by showing somebody how, basically what type of finish this would be. And lo and behold, it turned out to be, a good thing that it actually happened, because it wasn't long after that, like I said, I had to go in for my wellness, and it popped up that I was way out of whack, way out of shape. I was way overweight. I bumped back up to 271 pounds, and wasn't feeling good. I was always tired and lethargic, and inflammation, man, just joint pain. And when you're carrying cast iron or doing any kind of work or anything, you don't want to have that arthritis feeling. And I always thought it was arthritis. Come to find out, it really wasn't so much as it was inflammation that was causing the joint pain.
Yep.
But here's the kicker to this whole thing, Tom. I think probably when you and I met years ago, back in 2019, I actually stumbled across some of the same problems that I'd had. I was here at home by myself. Well, I take that back. I was actually here working on some things under my house, and I crawled out from underneath the house, and I had a pain in my right side. And so I went in after I got cleaned up and everything, was laying on the couch, and I told Teresa, I said, well, I'm having this pain right here. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, the next day, she was gone somewhere or whatever, and I was still here at home. And man, that pain it just magnified. And I thought, what in the world's going on? I'm having a problem here. And so I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get it checked out. Well, I went to my doctor. They got me in fairly quick. And so I went and was talking with him. And he said, I'll tell you what, he said, let's run some x-rays and see what's going on. And so run some x-rays and different things, and found out I had COPD was one of the things that they had mentioned. I had just a small touch of emphysema. But he said, that pain right there is fatty liver. And he said, it's inflamed and it's causing you problem. And I was kind of worried about it, because not my oldest brother, but my next oldest brother had acquired pancreatic cancer several years ago and passed away. And within 21 months after that happened, or 13 months after that happened, his son did the same thing. He got pancreatic cancer and died. And so I had two people in my family that had pancreatic problems, or pancreas problems, which, the pancreas is what spurs out insulin, makes the insulin for to bring the sugar down and everything. But so he said, you're going to have to kind of change your diet. So this was in 2019, 2020. And that's when I created this channel. This channel was initially called Keto Style.
Cool.
So I had started researching the keto type way of living, and learned that, keto was just short form for ketosis, like we mentioned earlier. And so I started reaching out, and where else are you going to go but Google and YouTube, So I started researching a lot of videos and stuff, and I ran into a redneck country doctor over in Tennessee named Dr. Ken Berry. And of course, me being a redneck from Arkansas, I did just kind of clicked, and I thought, well, I'm going to listen. This guy makes a lot of sense. But in a sense, it doesn't make sense. This is crazy, wanting to just eat certain things like this, because we were brought up, we've always, most all of our life, we've always eaten the way we've been eating. And he calls it the SAD diet, or the standard American diet.
Yep.
And so as I kept researching and kept looking at videos and watching stuff, I run across another man actually from Tennessee as well. And his name was Bob Briggs, and his channel at that time was called Butter Bob Briggs. And he said, but one of his famous quotes was, in one of his videos was, butter makes your pants fall off. And he had he was standing there with a picture, had the biggest pair of jeans that he had probably worn at one time, and how much weight he had lost. But I mean, he only has I forget now, 30 or 40 videos or something. I've watched every one of them from start to finish, but and he made a lot of sense. I mean, he was real practical, real down to earth. And he doesn't make videos anymore. He had several issues that come about. I think his wife passed away from high diabetes, and um, I think one of his, I'm not sure if it was one of his grandsons or something happened. But anyway, he also had kind of a situation like me, where some of his viewers, not necessarily subscribers and followers, there's a difference there,
Yeah.
and some of his viewers was really giving him a hard time, and it affected him personally and emotionally because
Sure.
he, like me, just felt like he was trying to help somebody with what he had learned and what he'd experienced, and
Yeah.
so he quit making videos.
That's a shame because, for instance, like my channel, I'm a retired chef. Okay. And I've been on this hamster wheel with the doctors for over 20 years now. Okay.
Wow.
And then I developed bladder cancer.
Mm.
Okay. Going through the treatment now, each treatment that I would get would last 6 weeks. So I was just about on my sixth treatment. Okay. Went on for almost a year and a half or so. And where the treatment had to take place is not, I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Um, the doctor comes flying in one afternoon. And he says to me, "Tom, I can't do the treatment no more for you." At that point, I've had 18 tumors removed
Wow.
in a matter of 3 years. Okay. And the alternative was to take the bladder out. We're not going to do that. And I said, no, 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 no. Anyway, long story short, they said you have type 2 diabetes. Okay. But the last 2 weeks of my treatments, they started checking my blood sugar. And I'm saying, what is going on? What are you doing? And they checked my blood sugar, and my blood sugar was 280.
Ooh, wow.
Can't do it. Cannot do it. Okay, we're going to send you to some place to an endocrinologist, and also there is a dietitian there, and we'll go in. You can talk about that. So, Mike, I go to this place. I had no clue about none of this stuff.
Right.
Okay, and they gave me the chart, which was the pyramid.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, and bread, more legumes, more this, and what are you talking about? I have no clue. And I was naive to the fact because I had no idea about type 2 diabetes or nothing.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was getting piled on, not only having bladder cancer. And the scary part was the doctor gave me, actually told me to go home and get my affairs in order.
Oh, wow. Mm.
And now they're telling me I have type 2 diabetes. Anyway, long story short, I started doing research. And I lived in North Carolina at the time. I was out so far out in the sticks. Okay, the mail would come over with a helicopter. I'm just kidding, but it was my nearest neighbor was 2 miles away. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I started doing the research on it, and I'm saying, what the hell? They want me to eat this stuff, and that's when I first started going into these different doctors on YouTube doctors and stuff like that.
Right.
Way before Ken Berry and stuff. Anyway, I started educating myself. Okay, and then we doing so the whole time I was trying different stuff. Back then, juicing was big.
Yes.
Okay, well, all I'm doing is hurting myself.
Yep.
Okay, until I got the awakening. When I moved from North Carolina down to Florida, I connected with a couple people down there, and they were doing herbs and stuff like that as far as type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Then I discovered keto. Whoa. Okay. I lost 42 pounds, Mike, and in
Wow.
a matter of weeks.
Yeah. It's
But
great.
the problem is, okay, that little guy in the back of your head saying, you can have a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Eat that cake.
Yeah. You deserve it. You've done good. You, yeah.
But the medications they had me on, I was on that circle of medications. Now they're getting into with the heart and cholesterol and all this other stuff. Anyway, long story short, this is your time, not mine. Um,
Oh, I love to hear that story.
when being retired, okay, I had one of my friends from back east, where I did all my cooking and stuff, a couple different restaurants. He said, so now you're the keto guy. He said, what about us people that you fed all them carbohydrates to?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, see, I feel bad. But then I got into it and I didn't stop. I just kept going. I go carnivore once in a while. Okay, if my numbers go up too high, whatever. And did they ever talk to you about putting you on Trulicity?
No, never had anything. Now, so when you started, you never stopped from the time from that point. You never stopped being keto, basically, up until this point.
7 years.
Okay. See, now that's where you and I differ. As I was talking about how I was having that pain
Mm-hmm.
and knew I was going to have to make a change, and the doctor told me that I was going to have to make some changes. That's when I reached out and started looking at stuff on YouTube, and that's when I ran across Butter Bob and Ken Berry and there was different ones at the time. There was not as many back then as there is now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. You can find a lot of information, and it's really pretty simple actually. But I I got started and I lost 50 pounds,
Yeah.
and I made some videos on my keto style channel. If you go back and look at some of my very first videos, the oldest videos on here, um, they were keto type recipes. And I have one video on there where I talked about how I lost a bunch of weight. And, but lo and behold, life gets in the way, and I didn't have the willpower you did apparently. So, I fell off the wagon. And after several years, I just continued to eat the way I was eating. And, because if you're not, if you don't have a lot of willpower, sometimes it can be easily influenced by your surroundings, whether it's a spouse or family, or if your family get-togethers, or just social situations in general. If you go out to eat, you have few choices. Sometimes you have to learn to make the right choices,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be hard. And sometimes you have to plan accordingly. Sometimes you may have to fix something that is good for you and eat it before you actually even go out.
Yeah. You
And
stereotype yourself, basically, is what
uh,
you're doing. You know.
so, I fell off the wagon there for 3 or 4 years, I guess. Well, let's see, 2019, this is 25. So, yeah, probably about 3 years or so. I was on it about 2 years and then fell off three, and then now here I am again. But I feel like I got a second chance this time when I got the awakening that I had a 7.5 A1C, and I had gained all my weight back up, uh, all but 5 pounds of my highest weight. My highest weight was 275.6, and I got back to 271, so all but 4 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking through my portal for my doctor, was looking all at my vitals and my information that they put in that portal, it showed that my BMI was 42.1,
Wow.
and of course my weight was 271. My B or my A1C was 7.5, and so I looked that BMI up at 40, 41, 42.1 or whatever, and you know what it said on Google? It says you're extremely um,
Obese.
obese, and well, it even said basically it was deadly. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I've never been this way. I've never lived this way. So I'm going to make some changes. And I told Teresa that day, I said, well, we always talk about stuff. And I said, but today I'm making a change. And I said, you can write this day down and mark it in your book because I'm making a change today. So I started, and I'm only back on this since July the 19th was when my last A1C,
Mm-hmm.
other than the one I got today, but my first A1C. And so I really actually, attribute July the 17th or 19th kind of my starting date again. And so I'm only 90 days into this. And right now, currently, I'm right at 50 pounds down. I don't know what my new A1C is because I don't have my blood results back yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know all the benefits and all the things that I no longer have. I no longer sleep with a CPAP.
Good.
I no longer use Spiriva for my lungs. I no longer have joint pain in anywhere at all unless I'm, very extraneous some type of work or whatever. And then typically you recover from it real easily the next day. You're fine. Your muscles recover so much more.
Yeah.
I,
It's remarkable, okay, that how all of a sudden things change like that.
oh yeah. Yeah, the weight loss was, that was just a bonus,
Sure.
actually, because the inflammation was the big thing for me because you're so sore and stiff. You don't want to do anything. You certainly don't want to walk and exercise. But after about 3 weeks on this of changing my food habits and my food choices, I
Mm.
thought, I'm going to put a little exercise into this. I'm not going to get crazy. I'm just going to walk a little bit. And so I started out and I walked 5 or 10 minutes, and then I just gradually continued to build up. And I walk anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour now, and I love it. I mean, I just feel so good. But another one of the benefits uh, that I really noticed was clear headedness, Tom. Just the brain fog, was gone. When you have just you can't think good, you can't make good decisions because you just can't for whatever reason. But the brain fog and all that was gone is one thing. Um, Another thing too that I've noticed on Carnivore is, it may be a very restricted diet as far as what you can eat. It's
Hmm.
not restricted on how much you can eat. You can eat as much as you want until you're no longer hungry, and then you just quit and you don't eat again until you're hungry.
That's it.
And so, I'm not always, pilfering through the cabinets and pilfering through the refrigerator door and all this. When I eat good and I eat what I want to eat and I eat my. Uh, Now, let me back up a little bit. I will say that I am sort of restricted too, because not only am I restricted on what I eat, I actually worked my way into what's called intermittent fasting, which I know you and your audience probably knows exactly what that is.
Hmm.
And that's just a time restricted type of eating where, you eat, say, or you fast, say, a 12-hour period, and you eat anywhere in a 12-hour window. And once that 12-hour window's gone, and you don't eat anymore until the next day at that time.
Hmm.
And then as you continue to tighten that window up, you may go from a 12-12 to a 14-10, or you may go to a 16-8 or even an 18-6. Sometimes you may even go even further to a OMAD, what's called OMAD, or 1 meal a day, which is
Hmm.
basically a 23 uh, fasting period and 1 hour of eating. And you can do certain other types of fastings, like a 24-hour or 48-hour or 36-hour or 72-hour or whatever.
Right.
And it's beneficial. It helps clear out old um,
Yeah, it does.
cells in your body, and you got to work your way up to that. That's not something that you just dive right into. You got to gradually work your way into it. And so that was kind of what I did. I started out just gradually changing what I ate. Then I implemented a little bit of exercise, and then I really started focusing on the time restricted eating. And there was a reason for that. Every time we put something in our mouth, it spikes insulin.
Yep.
And so I wanted to keep that insulin low to bring my glucose down, because another thing I didn't mention, when I had my test, the day that I had my test, my wellness, my insulin, my glucose was 162. And so in that 90-day period, now I'm anywhere from 80, I've run about 80 to 125, depending on what I've eaten.
Okay, I turned around and, like I said, went to the doctor last week. I mean, we sort of locked horns a little bit, but he doesn't understand what I'm doing, and you can't explain to somebody in a 15-minute visit. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, my last week's podcast, I did something on that about medications, about the doctors, and how it became corporate. All right. Um, Turning around, and they told me, well, you're pre-diabetes. Read the chart, pal. You know what I mean? I am type 2 diabetes since 2008.
Mm.
Okay. I said, and all your stuff that you didn't work. So I took to the food and I dropped it down. Mike, it dropped me down to the point where my glucose was, uh, our body produces glucose. Okay. But we don't, as regular normal human beings, okay, eating a junk to sad diet, we don't give our body a chance to go into ketosis at all with all that junk. Once I once I get into ketosis, Everybody said the keto flu. Got to watch out for the keto flu. I welcomed it.
Yeah.
I woke up and I said, "Oh God, I feel so bad," and this and that. And then I went into the shower. Come out of the shower, and it was almost like I washed it away. Boom, clear headed,
Yeah.
no pains, no nothing.
Yeah.
But I tell you what happened. I was playing in a band out here. I was playing out in a casino, and we get done playing. Okay, I pack up my stuff, put it out in the car, and we come back in again. And a bunch of the guys and some of the guests and stuff like that. They're sitting around there eating cheeseburgers and this and that. I look at my wife. I said, one cheeseburger ain't gonna kill me, with the bun. Wrecked me. It actually wrecked me.
Wow.
The doctor puts me on this Trulicity, okay? And ever since he put me on this Trulicity, I was on it for maybe 6 months. Never lost weight, okay? And my A1C and everything else went through the roof from that. Because what that stuff does is slows down your microbiome, slows down your microbiome, and keeps you full all the time. But what they don't tell you is that that's in your stomach and it's fermenting.
Mm.
Insulin goes through the roof. They actually wanted to put me on insulin. I said, I'm insulin resistant.
Yeah.
I'm constantly like that. So, listen, you're hitting all the points that I went through, and it's glad to hear somebody else that we could talk about it and stuff like that without any problems. I mean, as soon as you start eating clean, feel great.
Yeah.
Feel great. I mean, I was down to a scooter.
Wow.
Okay, now I use the cane because I can't run no more in case I got to whack somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
So, did they change any of your medications, Mike?
See, that's the thing. I've never been on any medication.
There you
So,
go.
up until 2019 when it happened the first instance, I didn't go on any medication then.
Yep.
Basically, was just trying to do it with diet. And if I, and one thing too that like your show and different ones on YouTube, if you have a support system, that's helpful.
Hmm.
It really is. So if you can watch videos and get some encouragement or get part of a group or whatever, that will help support you because you really, you're kind of swimming upstream. It's not, as I've heard many times, and I'm sure you have too. Well, this is just not normal, and this way of eating is not sustainable. This is just not normal. But actually, what's not normal is taking all this medication and pills and shots and all that.
Yeah,
That's not the way God created us. I don't believe.
yeah. I totally agree with you with that. And my point to everybody, and the point of my channel is, I don't preach it. I don't say this is the way you got to do it. I just
Right.
show people how to cook.
Right.
Okay. Now I did carnivore for a while. Matter of fact, I did it for probably almost a year.
Yeah.
Okay. But being that I had that shot, okay, it actually worked against me. So I dabble a little bit here and there with some vegetables. I don't go crazy with them. You know what I mean? Uh,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, Tom, because that is the truth about it. I'm not strict carnivore because I actually ferment my own cabbage. I make my own sauerkraut. And, I eat that for a probiotic. And I just love homemade sauerkraut.
hmm
But anyway, so that's a vegetable. So, that knocks me out of being a strict carnivore. So I think I don't know, there's so many terms floating around anymore. I think they call it ketovore or something like that. But
Yeah,
anyway, I'm basically primarily carnivore. I basically eat beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Make sure I have plenty of salt because that's important for our.
there you go.
We've got to have those electrolytes to keep our body in balance.
Hmm.
But I eat shrimp, I eat salmon, I eat tuna. Gosh, I mean, I eat pork chops. Um you can pretty much eat anything really within reason because meat. I mean, it'll produce a little bit of sugar, but very little.
Yeah,
you
I mean
know,
it's what our body can tolerate, basically. You know what I mean? And we
yeah,
were meant to eat that. I mean,
yeah.
I can get into something probably get thrown off of YouTube, but they just I don't know if you heard or not. Okay, but there's an outfit. They've been around for a long time. They produce these different tests and stuff like that, and it's called not Element or something. I can't remember what it was, but it's strictly vegan. Okay, it's
Mhm.
strictly plant based the way it is. Do you know these people come out with a hit list? And yeah, I'm saying a hit list, okay? And you know who's at the top of it? Dr. Sean Baker.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay,
heard that. There's several of them on there, and
Ken
he,
Berry's on it. The whole bit. I
yeah,
mean, come on, these
yeah,
people are trying to help people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
they are, and they're all medical doctors. One of the
yeah.
the five that I probably listen to the most is Sean Baker, Dr. Ken Berry. I listened to Anthony Chafee's another doctor that
Hmm.
he is very strict carnivore. I can't do what he's doing, but
Yeah.
you can see how well shape he's in. But for people our age, I mean, them guys are younger, but people our age, it's not so much about having that, that beach body, bodybuilding physique, because I don't think you and I are going to achieve that anytime soon.
Uh-uh.
But, I mean, as far as having our best health now, what we can do, feeling better every single day, is I mean, it's worth it all, really, to me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's I follow the same guys, but I also follow Dr. Eric Westman. Uh,
Yeah.
he's
See,
at it. He's at a Duke.
yeah. And he had interviewed and trained under Dr. Robert Atkins years ago in the 70s when the Atkins diet come out, and they really thought he was a kook and crazy, but I mean, he was on the right track.
Sure.
And so Westman, I listened to him too. That's another one I failed to mention, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's very informative, and there's several others. I mean, they are. You learn to pick who is actually on the right track and kind of who's
Yeah. Yeah.
who not to listen to as much.
I
But
got another question for you. Um, how hard was it for you to, not get back on a horse again, but I mean, how is it easier maintained now for you?
well, I think my why is different. You got to know what your why you're doing something, and I felt like, and I told Teresa, I said, here's what happened the second go round. Uh, we had a grandbaby, a granddaughter. And so we traveled up to Iowa to see our son and daughter-in-law and new
Uh huh.
granddaughter. And I felt like crap, Tom. I mean, I felt like crap. My head was throbbing. It was hurting. I know my blood pressure was out of the range. My sugar was certainly out of the range. Matter of fact, my son said, "I'm about to take you to the emergency room." I said, "Nah, I'll be all right." I said, "I'll be all right." I get back home. I said, "I'm going to change some stuff." I didn't. That was in April. And when I got back to Arkansas, I didn't change a whole lot. I kind
Hmm.
of slowed down a little bit, but I didn't change anything until July when this episode hit. And I was not feeling good again. And then I got my results back from the doctor, and they said, you're morbidly obese and your A1C is 7.5. And it was just like I thought, this is my second chance. I don't know that the good Lord would allow me to have a third. And
Right.
so I don't want to test it. And
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
that's my why of why I stay so strict now. And I hope that I can continue this. That's my goal to do so, because I know how much better I feel. And when I do, like you said, fall off the wagon and eat a cheeseburger like that with everybody, I know how it makes me feel. And I
Exactly.
don't want to feel like that anymore. Because once you eliminate all the stuff, and I know your audience knows probably, but we can kind of go over that for a minute,
Hmm.
is what we're talking about eliminating is like um, flour, seed oils, that cooking oils, vegetable oils, stuff like that that's very high inflammatory, and flour, white flour, anything white, rice, breads, pastas, stuff like that we all love. I loved it all. I
Yeah.
used to make sourdough bread all the time and cinnamon rolls. I loved them.
Yeah.
But, that stuff was killing me. It was killing me from the inside out. And so once you start eliminating that, your body goes into kind of fight or flight mode there for a little bit. And you talked
Hmm.
about the keto flu earlier. Basically, your body makes some changes to where you actually get kind of a sickly feeling where you're eliminating those things, and they call it the keto flu. I didn't have that this second time. The first time that I did in 2019, I did have that, But this second go around, I just doubled up on my electrolytes, my potassium, my sodium, and my magnesium. And I didn't
Hmm.
have any of those effects, and a lot of water. I eliminated. Listen, I was a truck driver all my life, ever since I was 18 years old. And so I carried one, if not two, thermoses of coffee with me everywhere I went. I might load out of Jersey going to California, and I'd have a full two thermoses, and I'd be ready to go. Well, I even eliminated coffee, and my wife said, "I cannot believe you're not drinking coffee anymore." And I said, "Well, Teresa, here's the deal. I've got to eliminate everything down to see what was causing me the most problems, and then I may introduce them back in." So I started drinking 1 cup, maybe sometimes 2 cups a day now, with some heavy cream or some homemade butter or whatever like that I'll put in. But it's not that I am always going to stay strict carnivore. I'm always going to be a meat eater because I always loved it.
That's right.
But I will introduce, like I said, the homemade sauerkraut and a few things here and there. Like I'm in the process right now as we speak, making some homemade yogurt out of raw butter, and I've got from a farm here in
Cool.
Northeast Arkansas. So I went and got a gallon of raw milk and separated the cream and made me a little batch of butter last night, and
There
and
you go.
today I'm trying to make some homemade yogurt out of it. So
I usually make my own ricotta cheese, and I also make some queso.
hmm,
Okay, from the milk and or heavy cream, exactly from the heavy cream and stuff. And that's what I do. The older I get, I'm going back in time as far as making other stuff. I make my own pickles. I'll
yeah,
buy them Parisian, and it's what they call icebox pickles.
right,
You don't have to you cook the brine a little bit and then let it cool and put everything. I love them. I make pickled red onions and stuff like that. It's not hard. People make it hard. Okay, I Mike, I had a lady call me one time. She said, "Can I get your phone number?" Sure, no problem. I'm trying to do this here, and I like your channel. Blah 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 blah. And I swore that I was never going to do this. Okay, so I'm pretty cut and dry with things. So she started. She said, "Oh, this is hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it." Do you know anything about the fat bombs?
oh yeah,
No,
yes,
but I said to her, "Why are you doing that now? You got to get to the point where you just got to break away from everything. Why do you want fat bomb?" I said, "You know what? Don't call me no more." Click, I don't know. But it is so easy. People don't realize how it is.
yeah,
And once you get used to it, like you said before, the intermittent fasting. In the beginning, I worried about that. Well, I'm
yeah,
going to eat. Now, when I stop, usually 7 o'clock at night, I'll stop. And then the next morning, I'll have, when I say morning, I'm talking about 10, 11, or 12.
right,
I'll have a couple eggs.
yeah,
And then whatever, if I'm making a video, I'll, whatever I'm cooking or whatever Marie makes,
right,
and we'll eat 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. A couple times, Mike, I was 23 hours without, and not stressing about it. Just didn't
right.
feel like eating because the energy I had was almost crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
your energy increases so much, and that's the thing too. People think that it's so hard, but if you sleep 6 to 8 hours a night, you're already fasting during that period. So
sure.
if you quit eating supper or dinner, you call it at 7 o'clock, then and you don't eat again till 10 the next morning, like you were saying, some eggs, you're already 15 hours into a
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
So if you stretch that out one more hour, you're at a 16-8 fasting window, intermittent fasting, where you can eat in that 8 hour period from say 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock again, that 8 hours. And then once you're done at 7 p.m. again.
yeah, yeah.
It's easy to do, really.
It is so easy, but the hype. There were so many people at that. I really got mad. I said, "Here I am. I'm struggling with this because I have type 2 diabetes." Okay, I was diagnosed with that, and I'm trying to keep everything right. And then all of a sudden, I come on out with keto flour. No such thing.
Yeah,
Keto bread. No such thing. You know,
no,
and they just kept marketing that way until people said, "I just can't do this no more." And to try to talk net carbs versus carbs. No,
yeah,
not net carbs, just carbs. You
yeah,
know,
that's
and
right.
it got to the point where, and that's why I didn't give up because everybody switched from keto and went to It's like following the fads and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
I went to carnivore to eliminate everything.
yeah. And that's basically what I did. I thought, I've got to figure out what has been causing me the most problems.
Hmm.
And so I eliminated all carbs completely and just strictly, protein and fat. And, it's not anything we talk much about, but the fat's where it's at.
That's right.
And I don't necessarily mean the fat hanging off our belly or whatever, but the fat, kind of like Butter Bob was talking about, because butter is a good fat if you're eating a whole, full fat butter. And I'm not talking about margarine or I can't believe it's butter crap and none of that.
No,
I'm
hard.
talking about full fat butter, and you were talking about the keto bombs and stuff when you're looking at, say, coconut oil and different things like that's good fats. But the fattier cuts of meat, and you don't trim it off, you don't cut it. You basically cook it and eat it. You eat the fat, and
Yeah.
we've been told for so many years. I'm 10 years younger than you. I'm 61, be 62 here in a few months. But all my life, and I grew up out of an old family, and we raised a lot of our food, as far as
Hmm.
gardening and stuff like that, and some chickens and hogs, some no cattle, but we did have some hogs and chickens. But we were told back, and it started before I was born. Actually, they started telling how bad, the saturated fats from animal fat,
Hmm.
beef fat, hog fat, chicken fat, any of that. They kind of started telling us all that was bad, and to get rid of it and start eating this Crisco and eating, this corn oil and stuff like this.
I
And
can't
that's when
believe
the
it's not
problems.
butter.
Yeah, and so that's where the problem started. And you can, and then you can. This is historical. You can go back and look at the records and see where all the metabolical problems like diabetes, heart disease, and different things where it started increasing. And it was back when they told us eggs was bad, coffee's bad, fat's bad, don't eat none of that.
Yeah.
Salt's bad, don't eat salt, and we got to have salt. And
In
so,
in the middle of my career as a chef, that's when it all was. Okay. Um, Low fat, high carbs. Okay.
yeah,
And that we had a steak and seafood restaurant. Okay. So, I would do 10 prime ribs a day,
yeah,
every day. We're open 7 days a week. 200 pounds of lobster every day. Okay. Shrimp and all the stuff that goes with it. But that's when people say, no, no, I can't have that steak. I had to cut back on the menu as
yeah,
far as different types of cuts and stuff. Mike, we used to take ribeyes, okay, and I would cut them like maybe an inch, 3/4 of an inch, okay, boneless, on a slicer, and then when I get down a little bit further, I'd make them half inch. The half inch ones were for sandwiches, and the bigger ones were $6. We sold them for $6.
wow,
Okay, and mostly that was kids that were getting the teenagers and stuff that would come into the restaurant. It was just wouldn't sell because it was a fatty cut of meat. Who knew, right?
yeah,
It's a shame. Here's what I did now. I mean, with all the nonsense going on with oils, I use olive oil, avocado oil. I use a lot of butter. Okay,
yeah,
and that's what I did from back in the past also. But now what I'm doing, okay, I make my own tallow.
yeah,
I make my own pork lard, and I have pork lard in the refrigerator.
yeah,
And if I'm going to saute anything or need a little bit of more oil than that, that's what I use.
yeah,
You want to see the kickback I get about using lard?
yeah,
Still,
yeah,
the brain is not kicking in for some people that this is good stuff for you. You know?
yeah. Well, I think that that and I don't want to get too political with all this, but a lot of your big food and big pharma companies and stuff like that, I think have pulled the wool over the American public and just the public in general, pulled the wool over their eyes and sold everybody a bill of goods that all this stuff was bad when it's not. And I'm like you, I take and render my a lot of beef fat. I keep a bowl of tallow in the refrigerator of stuff that I've rendered down. Same way with bacon grease. I love bacon grease. Now, that's one thing nobody really ever griped about when I was on my cast iron channel. Was all the bacon and bacon grease that I cooked and made and everything. That was all fine.
Yeah,
But when I brought that Crisco in and showed about doing, how to season a cast iron skillet, I mean, it was like they were about to crucify me then.
I said to myself, I am not mentioning Crisco with Mike on the channel today. Not at all. Not at all. Well, you know what? It's nice to hear somebody else um, think and talk the way I do. All right. I started this podcast just to open the eye. I mean, some of them I went off on rants and stuff, and I don't like doing that because, it's just me, and I don't want anybody else to listen to my rants and raves. The whole idea I did this is to try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. Okay. I have a lot of people say to me, well, I can't do the carnivore because of the meat prices. Okay. Well, try something else. I just ran across an article not too long ago about longevity and in older people, okay, and skincare,
Yeah.
and also for our arteries and stuff like that. What do you think the top um, product or food that we were told never to eat is the greatest thing for your skin
I
and for
can
your
tell you right now, it's tallow, beef
no,
tallow.
this one took me Tyler, you're right, but this one took me another direction. Chicken skin.
Oh wow, really?
They say it's the best. I mean,
Uh,
how you cook it and stuff like that. So I don't know, Mike.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but it makes sense. It makes a
Well,
lot
yeah.
of sense.
Chicken fat. They call it. What do they call it? Smolts,
Yeah,
isn't it?
schmaltz. Yeah,
So any kind of animal fat, your saturated fats is what they told us it was no good, which was actually the best thing for us.
yeah. And
And
you, and
yeah,
back in our time, you would remember that when all that craze was going, low fat, high carb. Okay, skinless, boneless chicken
yes,
was the
yep,
rib. That was
yep,
the worst thing in the world you could tell
yeah,
people.
yeah. And
So
trim that steak all the way back to a quarter of an eighth of an inch. If that.
yeah,
And so I don't want any trimmed steaks. I want them untrimmed. But yeah, you're right. I remember growing up as a kid in southeast Missouri is where I originally grew up. And
hmm
as a kid, you're playing and everything, get a scrape or whatever, and they holler out, "Hey, get some meat grease and put on that boy." So they'd rub some bacon grease on you or whatever. You get a splinter in your hand or whatever, they'd take some meat fat, some bacon fat, and wrap it around there with a band-aid and have that
yeah.
meat fat draw that fester, that splinter out of your
Yeah, there was five of us in the family. I'm the youngest, okay, and there's only me and my brother that's left. But back in the day, my mom had a couple cans on top of the stove, next to the stove on the
Right.
shelf. The
Yeah.
bacon fat,
Yep.
beef fat, and I think she had pork fat.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's where we grew up anyway.
Yeah. We rendered lard. I mean, and the thing about bacon grease is, Tom, that bacon grease is really just a flavored or smoked flavored lard. It's pork fat, but it's smoked flavored. It's bacon grease.
I
And
have an
so,
I have an Oriental store out here that I go to, and I buy a slab of pork belly.
right.
Okay, and I take the skin off. I boil the skin. I make my own chicharrones. I make my
Yeah.
own pork rinds,
Yeah. Pork
and then the
skin.
rest I cut up, and I'll make. I have a smoker, electric smoker, and I'll make burnt ends with the pork and stuff like that. It's fantastic stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, you talk to some people. Oh no, I can't eat that.
Yeah.
Tell your story walking.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to come to Vegas, let you cook for me
There you
sometime.
go. Yeah, doors open. Mike, I really wish we connected earlier about this because to me, you are doing the right thing, and I wanted to showcase you about how you knew about it, but then you fell off the wagon, and then
Right.
you're back on it again. And I congratulate you. I really do,
Thank
uh,
you.
because it means a lot to me. So I feel like there's another brother in the mix. Okay. And at this time, I'd like to know if you would like to come back maybe in a month or so,
Sure.
or after the
Yep.
holidays, or whenever it's convenient for you,
Yeah.
and chat some more about it, because I think this boosts it up a little bit, whether
Sure.
it's carnivore, ketovore, whatever it is, low carb. But the word has to got to get out there,
Yeah.
because they're actually killing us with all the junk.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing about it is, what's the definition of insanity is keep doing
The same.
the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah.
So if you're not getting the results that you're actually wanting, you've got to make a change. And I knew I had to make a change. And so I had to stop the insanity.
Yeah.
And, I had to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And for me, this works. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's hard to sustain and that it's hard it's expensive to do. But the thing about it is, once you get established doing this, you actually don't buy as much food, believe it or not.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
You,
the
you
truth.
really don't, because you're not as hungry. You eat till you're full and you're done. And so for me, that it's really been a godsend, a blessing for me to get back and get lined out, because I was headed in the wrong direction real fast.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It really is that we're taught. Even to this day, I have people saying, "Oh, your cholesterol must be crazy." Thanks for liking and subscribing. I mean, I'll see you next time. Whatever. It's nuts, because it's that same talking point that goes over and over and over again. Here's the thing. Before we go, here's the thing that scares me. I seen an article out here in Las Vegas. Okay, health. They did some kind of health magazine or something. They have. They are now saying that children 10 years old are
Yes,
developing type 2 diabetes.
I know, it's crazy. You're right.
That's scary. I mean, it's
Yeah.
completely scary.
And
Well,
it's
everybody,
it's the food, it's the sugary drinks, it's the potato chips and the crap.
you can watch people in the grocery store going around, and I always look in people's carts just to see, and I'm saying, Jesus, why aren't you getting this?
Yeah.
I'll hand people out my stickers and stuff. Not that I'm the guru or anything like that,
Right.
but I have results.
Yeah.
My own results and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, don't beat yourself up and don't cut yourself short, Tom. It's the ordinary average people like us, sharing our story, and people see, the effect it's had, and the benefits and the changes. That's where it's at. It's everybody, sharing their story. It's not that we're a guru or whatever. There are gurus out there, but every one of us, if we'll just share our story with someone and say, look, this is what I did, and this is what's happening to me, and you can see the results. Just give it a try. What I can tell your audience and my audience as well is, don't knock it till you try it, as the old cliche used to be years ago. But
Exactly.
just give it 30 days and try and see how you feel. If you don't like it, go back. You can always go back to what you was doing.
Mm-hmm. Take them pills, take all that
Yeah.
stuff. And the truth about it is, I was on almost 12 pills. I'm down to 3.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I mean, it's just right there. All right, everybody, listen. I want you to please check out Mr. Cast Iron. Like I said, they'll leave the link below. Check it out. If you love cast iron cooking, which I do a lot of, he's got some great videos. Okay, even go back earlier, which I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to go back and watch your earlier keto videos and stuff like that. Mike, you're a great guy. I appreciate your friendship, and thank you so much for coming on. And we'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Sit back and have a glass. Time for Tom's Real Food Podcast.